Maya stood frozen, heart sinking as Andrew's cold words echoed. "You're not ready." She had worked for this, but he dismissed her without hesitation. A month later, everything changed. Andrew, now beneath her, had to answer to her. But what happened next? You won't believe it. Let's start from the beginning. It was the moment that everyone in the office had been waiting for. The annual meeting where promotions would be announced and careers would shift forever. The tension was thick in the air, palpable even to those who weren't directly involved. Andrew, the longtime manager, was seated at the head of the table, his sharp gaze sweeping across the room. Everyone knew him for his cold, calculated demeanor, the kind that made his approval feel like a rare and coveted prize. But Maya Johnson had earned it. Maya had put in the hours. She had stayed late more times than she could count, pouring her energy into client meetings, helping the team meet impossible deadlines, and always delivering results. She wasn't just qualified, she was more than ready. She could feel it in her bones. This was her moment. She had worked tirelessly for it, believing that the promotion was finally within her grasp. But when Andrew spoke her name, it was as though the room froze. "Maya, I'm afraid you're just not ready for this role," he said, his voice as icy as ever. The words hit her like a slap, cutting through the air with brutal precision. Maya's heart sank. The blood drained from her face. She had expected this moment, prepared for it, but nothing had prepared her for the sting of those words. The weight of rejection was overwhelming. She glanced around the room, seeking any sign of support, but all she saw were faces filled with silent pity. Her colleagues avoided her gaze, unsure of what to say or do. Maya smiled weakly, trying to mask the storm brewing inside her. But behind that smile was a growing seed of anger, a frustration that was too powerful to ignore. She had given everything for this company, and yet it was clear that her efforts, her dedication, didn't matter. Not to Andrew, not to the people who had watched her struggle. The anger, sharp and bitter, began to take root. She had been passed over, and now the fight wasn't just for a promotion. It was for her place in this company, her right to be seen, to be heard, and to succeed. As the days went on, the initial shock began to fade, but the anger inside Maya only grew. It festered, swirling like a storm that refused to die. She couldn't escape the crushing weight of what had happened, the injustice that sat on her chest like a heavy stone. Each day brought more reminders of what she had lost, and what Andrew had stolen from her. The rumors started circulating quickly, whispers in the hallways, colleagues speaking in hushed tones about the promotion being given to someone far less qualified. Maya's blood boiled with each new detail that reached her ears. Andrew had bypassed her not because of her lack of capability, but because of his biases, because of who she was, of what she represented. The idea that her years of hard work had meant nothing, that someone with less experience had been favored simply because of his personal preferences, gnawed at her every waking moment. Maya had always prided herself on her professionalism, her ability to rise above the noise. But this felt like a betrayal too deep to ignore. She had given everything to this company. She had gone above and beyond, sacrificing countless hours, sacrificing a part of herself to prove her worth. And for what? To be told she wasn't ready? To be passed over as if she were nothing more than an afterthought? Her frustration gave way to questions that twisted her insides. Was it simply because she was a black woman? Was that the reason Andrew had deemed her unworthy? The pain of that realization cut deeper than any criticism or professional setback ever could. To her, it wasn't just about the promotion anymore. It was about the message that her worth had never truly been acknowledged, that it had never been enough. She knew, deep down, that she couldn't let this go. But the question was What could she say to Andrew that would make him understand her value? After such a blatant injustice, how could she even begin to make him see her for what she truly was? She had always been the one to stay calm, to hold her composure. But now she was ready for a fight. A month later, Maya's world shifted in a way no one could have predicted. The company was undergoing a restructuring, and the roles had been shuffled. Maya, once rejected and passed over, was now asked to step into a new position, a role that ironically was higher than the very promotion Andrew had denied her. She couldn't believe it at first. It felt almost surreal. The very space that had witnessed her rejection was now her domain, her responsibility. She would be in charge. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Andrew, the man who had dismissed her, would now report to her. The shift in power was both thrilling and overwhelming. Maya had always known she was capable, but now she had to prove it on a much bigger scale. There was no time for doubt. The office, once a place where she felt like an outsider, now felt like her arena. Her first day in the new role was marked by an undeniable sense of purpose. Maya dove into her responsibilities with a quiet, unwavering determination. She knew the eyes of the entire office were on her, waiting to see if she would falter. They had all witnessed her humiliation just weeks ago, and now they would watch as she rose from it. Andrew, for the first time, was the one who seemed out of place. His usual arrogance, the confidence that had once made him feel untouchable, faded as soon as he was faced with Maya's unwavering confidence. There was no room for excuses now. He had to answer to her, and that fact was clear. Maya wasn't begging for recognition anymore. She had earned it. And now she was going to show everyone, including herself, that she wasn't just good enough for the job. She was the right person for it. The transformation was stark. Her voice, once quiet in meetings, now commanded attention. Her decisions carried weight. The office fell silent as Maya proved that strength, resilience, and unshakable confidence were far more powerful than any injustice she had endured. The satisfaction that Maya felt as she watched Andrew squirm under her leadership was undeniable. Every ounce of frustration she had once felt had been replaced with the quiet confidence of someone who knew her worth. She had proved him wrong in every way. Andrew, the man who had once dismissed her as not ready, now found himself unable to speak above her in meetings. His arrogance, once so sharp, had crumbled under the weight of her competence. Maya didn't gloat. She didn't need to. The transformation was enough. Her presence in the room, the way she commanded attention with just a glance, was her victory. She led her team with grace, making difficult decisions with ease. Every challenge that came their way, she faced head-on, taking the company to new heights, pushing boundaries and surpassing expectations. Her leadership was precise, calculated, and filled with purpose. She wasn't just doing the job, she was excelling at it. Andrew, once the leader, had been reduced to a passive participant in her meetings. The office, once divided, now watched as Maya effortlessly navigated the complexities of her new position. His words, once filled with authority, were now silenced by her presence. The dynamic that had been so one-sided just weeks before had completely flipped. But for Maya, it wasn't about revenge. It never had been. Her triumph came not from lashing out, but from proving herself through sheer talent and perseverance. She had earned every ounce of respect she now commanded. The justice she had longed for wasn't some form of retribution. It was the quiet power that came from outgrowing the man who had once held her back. Maya had become more than just a boss. She had become a symbol of empowerment for every woman and minority who had ever been told they weren't enough. She was living proof that no one, not even the most powerful man in the room, could stop her from reaching her full potential. Maya had found her place, and no one could take it from her.